Yeah, you
How are
must
we
have.
going, guys?
Good. How are
Oh,
you?
good. How are you?
I'm real good, thanks, guys. Yeah, cheers for inviting me on. Let's have a chat about swimming, eh?
Yeah, well, welcome to the Swim Sense podcast. My name's Grant Sandstedt here with Micah Sholl, and we're blessed to be joined today by Sonny Trigg, aka the Swimsuit Guy. Well, how you doing today?
I'm real good. I had a little swim earlier today. So I'm visiting my parents at the moment. So they live about 6 hours away from me in the UK, which is about as far as you can get from someone in the UK. I know in America that's like barely out of state or not even out of state. But for me, I don't come visit them often. So I went to a different public training pool as usual and done a couple of fast 25s. So that was good fun.
Let's go. Let's go. Well, Sonny is one of the few swim YouTubers in the swim world. Um, it says you've been doing it since the summer of 2018, if I'm correct.
That
You're
is
also a
correct.
swim coach, everything in between there. Um, YouTube channel has over 150,000 subscribers, over 100 million views. Um, and it's a channel that's dedicated to reviewing tech suits, vlogging, swimming, and coaching at the highest level. Um, just talk us through your YouTube journey. How did you get involved? What made you decide to start your YouTube channel?
I think I'm obsessive as a human about certain things, and swimming has been like my longest serving obsession. You could call it a hobby or an interest, but definitely, if you know me, it's an obsession. And I definitely like at certain points I get more obsessive about certain intricacies. So right now, maybe we can talk about it later. My obsession would be unearthing the best possible ways to do sprint coaching. That's what takes my waking thoughts at the moment. Now the 50s have been added to the Olympics, and people like Cam McAvoy have reinvented how they train. I spend a lot of time thinking about that. And 7 years ago, about 7 years ago, probably to the month, I was more intrigued about tech suits. So I was coaching a what would be a high school team for you Americans in the Middle East in Oman, and I was still swimming a little bit. I was training probably 4 times a week and still racing. And I got myself a Mizuno tech suit, a Mizuno GX Sonic 3. It was the same tech suit that Anthony Irvin won the Olympics in, Joe Schoolin won the Olympics in, and obviously Caleb Dressel wore for that 2017 World Champs, where I think everyone finally knew what absolutely everyone knew who Caleb Dressel was because he was phenomenal. So I get this tech suit, and I'd always had like an interest in tech suits. I was about 14 in 2009, and I did have a blue 70 bodysuit, and I actually got a jacket JO1 in 2010 as a school project when it was banned, and realized how good it was. And then for the next what would have been 8 years, I tried all the different suits, but they all kind of were much of a likeness. Nothing was crazy good, nothing was crazy different. They just, they served the purpose. And then I get this Mizuno tech suit, and my first meet, I dropped from 53 to 5100 freestyle short course meters. And I'm like, look, I'd obviously been swimming well. I'm not saying the suit takes a second off your time. That's not, I've never made that claim about any suit. But I was like, wow, this suit feels good. I'm buoyant. The taping's great. And I'm like, I'm looking online like Mizuno review, Mizuno GX, nothing. There's like crickets. Like there's no Reddit post, there's no forums. I'm like, how is no one talking about the different tech suits, comparing tech suits? So I'm like, hey, why don't I make a? I like making reviews. So I thought, why don't I make a YouTube video reviewing this tech suit? You can still find it. It's my first video, GX Sonic 3 review. It's horrible. The audio sucks. The camera work sucks. The production sucks. It still exists, and the rest is kind of like I never done it as like a full time thing. Now the swimsuit guy is my full time. That's my work. That's my day job. That's my livelihood. That was never the plan, but yeah, over the last 7 years, that's what it's become, and it's opened up every single awesome doorway in swimming there is. And it obviously, Grant, is how we come to meet. Like, about a year ago to this day, probably we
Yeah,
crossed
yeah.
paths in Indianapolis. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, I mean, tell us about like just what your daily life is like. I mean, being in the swimming YouTuber slash I would say influencer space. It's definitely a small space, and I feel like it's kind of on its way up. It's growing. You got, guys like Kyle Sockwell, you, just tons of swimmers out there making their own channels. What's your day-to-day life look like? What kind of stuff do you be up to?
It changes quite regularly. I'm fortunate that obviously I can kind of move around quite a bit. So I live down in the southwest of the UK with my girlfriend, who also has a remote job, which gives us a lot of freedom with our movements, which is really cool. Um, my like essential tasks on a week. So I sell online training programs. If anyone's interested in sprint training or masters training or anything like that, it's something I offer. Sorry for the plug, but just to give
Oh,
context. So there's a certain segment of my week would be preparing the programs for the people that I remotely coach. So that's like one element of things I do, and I can kind of spread that out over the week, but I give sessions on a weekly basis. The second thing would be I try, I'm going to contradict this right now, but I try and upload a video on YouTube every Saturday morning. So I'm not going to have one this week because I was meant to be racing on the weekend. The meet got cancelled. So I just don't have any, I've got nothing prepared to upload. But so again, I'll try and be editing a video throughout the week to upload it on Saturday. And that normally ties into maybe I've got a sponsored bit to put into the video. So um, I have like a couple of reoccurring sponsors that they kind of keep me honest as well with frequent content because I have to have a video to insert them in. So one of them sponsors is Buy, which they're the longest serving sponsor. I don't know if you've seen any of my videos where I mentioned Buy, but again, and this is not a plug, this is just me mentioning it, but it really works well because I think for a sponsor with anything in the social media space, you could pay me to talk about anything, but if it doesn't resonate and have a use case for my audience, which is probably swimmers, male swimmers, probably aged between 16 and 40, then it's pointless me talking about it. But Buy are the easiest way to internationally buy Mizuno tech suits, the very first suit I bought. So it just completely makes sense why it's obviously being profitable for them. Hence, they keep renewing my sort of sponsorship deal. But again, try and get a sponsored video and try and edit a video. So basically, it's writing training programs, um, making videos, making Instagram reels, and going for a swim. I try and swim 3 or 4 times a week.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, as you mentioned, like your channel is you're constantly promoting different sponsors that you kind of let people know about and hear about through however it connects with you. Um, and recently you were a part of Swim Outlet's official review team for all tech suits. How did that like come about and um what made you just want to do that in the first place?
That's actually I'm interested you or excited you brought that up. That was actually a really cool thing I done, and um, one of the members of the Swim Outlet sort of management team reached out to me probably a couple of years ago on my website and mentioned doing affiliate marketing for Swim Outlet. And affiliate marketing is something I try and navigate around because with I like working with like I'll do a 2 minute insertion into a YouTube video and you pay me a flat rate. It's mine. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
I look like I've gone all Joey. Sorry, guys.
No
And
worries.
the thing with affiliate marketing, this is just me and how my brain works, but I feel like I'd be constantly promoting something because every time I'd make a sale for said company, you get a commission, you get a cash bonus, and I don't want to like turn everything I do to being like and buy this and buy that and buy this and like I feel very self-conscious every time I do anything promotion wise, even for like my own training programs and my merchandise that I sell on my website. Even when I put it on my Instagram story, I feel a little bit like I don't want to say dirty, but I feel like I don't want to. I hope people don't think God, Sonny's just about making money. It's just there has to be a balance between me making, content for you guys and making a living at the same time. And affiliate marketing's always kind of bit felt like too far in the chasing thing. So I sort of said, well, that doesn't really work for me. But then it kind of made sense that I've reviewed almost every tech suit and I can just put a link. And if people are going to buy it, like, so Swim Outlet are the only people, I still have links in my YouTube videos that I do affiliate marketing with. I don't push it much. I don't put it on Instagram, but it's the only like affiliate thing I have going on. And that's how we first got in touch. And they then said, well, how about bringing you in for this Swim Outlet tech suit review? And I remember reading them as a kid that like when I said there was no one doing anything on tech suit reviews, the only ones there was the swim outlet ones. They'd done one maybe every 3 or 4 years. I remember Mark Gangloff done one, and more recently Dylan Carter and John Shabat, the backstroker from
Yeah, yeah.
Texas, done one. And I always found them really interesting. So it was like a really cool thing that, wow, I've been like sort of recognized by the biggest distributor, and well, at least as maybe in the world for tech suits and for swimming wear, to go and do something for them. And I assembled a team, so that was really cool. I brought in Dare Rose from Cal, who's an awesome guy. I brought in Mary Sophie Harvey, Canadian swimmer who worked on our ISL Energy Standard team. Marina Spadoni, who's training a really cool group right now with like Santo Condorelli and Calvin Justice. And the last person, Tom Perabonio, who's a pal of mine, swum for the Florida team with Caleb Dressel and stuff. So just a really cool group of people that really were all interested in tech suits. Like I visited Cal about a year and a half ago, and like Dari come up to me and was like, "What do you think of this suit? What do you think of this suit? I really like this suit." So I didn't like just bring him in because he's a great swimmer, but he's someone who's I think there's certain types of people that are really interested in tech suits. He's one of them, and I think everyone on that like group was. And I think, yeah, I hope you enjoyed reading through what we put together. It was a fun project.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned Energy Standard, and you worked for them recently with the ISL a couple years ago. It was definitely a crazy period of time. Just walk us through that. How did you get involved in that? And if you have any crazy memories or stories from that stick out to you, just when I bring it up, yeah, just let us know.
What sort of crazy stories are you thinking about, like on poolside or
I don't know. I mean,
around the meet?
we saw, the live version of the meet, but we didn't really see much of the other behind the scenes. I
Yeah.
mean, what was it like out there during especially COVID and all that? What was the training like? All that.
Yeah, so like the ISL was kind of like this again. I think a lot of things that have happened have had like a crazy series of events that have led up to things. So I was part of the ISL in 21, which is crazy, like you said, a couple of years ago. And it feels a couple of years ago, but it's actually 4 years, well, just shy of 4 years ago that the last series of ISL was. And first and foremost, I really missed the ISL, not just from a selfish being part of it, but I think the sport, it really was bringing the sport forwards. It made World Aquatics start to give more prize money. It gave more financial opportunities to swimmers. It was a crazy thing. But so I mentioned earlier I was coaching in the Middle East and Oman. I come back. Basically, I got stuck in lockdown there, and I come back summer 2020 to the UK. And swimming pools had just started to open. So at one point, you could only swim in outdoor pools. And me and a few pals were going to this outdoor pool near my parents' house. I was living at my parents' house where I am right now. And we were making like these skits where we was basically taking the piss out of things that were happening during the ISL season 2, right? Um, and like, yeah, we were just goofing around on poolside, making these videos. And they didn't even get that many views. They got like a few thousand views each. But I reckon 50% of them views were actually the swimmers that I've later found out the swimmers at the ISL were watching these videos. Um, so like we done this one where was taking a mick because Energy Standard lost a 4x1 medley relay. And Florent Manadou, who was swimming super fast that year, didn't swim the anchor leg. Instead, Lithuanian swimmer, who's crazy fast, Simonas Bilis swam the leg instead. So we made this like skit where my mate Kieran pretended to be Florent Manadou, and he's about to dive in on the anchor, and he goes, "James, I will not swim. Goodbye," and walks off. And apparently, James Gibson and Tom Rushton, the Energy Standard coaches, were watching this thinking, oh, and then they lost the race. Why on earth did we not put Flo managed? Like, why did we not put Flo on that anchor leg? Like, what? Like, and the first time like I ever met Flo, he comes up to me and like quoted the skit and like was laughing about it, which so it's like a crazy thing. And I think them skits kind of put me into like the radar that there's a guy who makes social media content, but also is a swimming coach. And that was kind of why I was brought into ISL was like a swimming coach who could also handle the social media. So I was kind of like I had this unique two-pronged thing where, like, yeah, I'm a coach, at that point, not an elite international coach, but someone who can handle themselves on deck and also handle the social media thing, which is what. So I was running their Instagram accounts and making vlogs of like, the vlogs you can still go and watch on my YouTube channel. I mean, I reckon there's like 30 training sessions from the best swimmers in the world. And the actual experience itself, again, I waffle a lot, so sorry, but I'm going to talk a load. but the experience itself was like it was like swimming utopia. I mean, if my two favorite things in swimming would be Indianapolis last year. That was like a week of
Amazing.
epicness.
Yeah.
The US trials in the stadium, the Masters meet in the IUPUI,
Yeah.
the Aqua Zone, like the streets, it was just everywhere I walked, I was bumping into crazy people. The other best thing I've ever done swimming was ISL, especially the Naples leg. And so first and foremost, we were training in this beautiful outdoor 50-meter pool in Naples. And generally two of the teams would have pool time at the same time. And then another two teams would be directly after you, another two teams were directly before. So I remember one session, you might remember it, but like Cali Condors and LA Current had just trained. And Caleb Dress was running and trying to dive over the flag. So this is how you turn up. We're then training at the same time as Toronto Titans. So Summer McIntosh is on the other side of the pool, being coached with the rest of the Toronto Titans. We've got, I don't even know how many Olympic champions we had in that energy standard group, but it could be 6 or 7, and I'm not even
Yeah.
exaggerating. You know, like we've got Sarah, we've got Chad, we've got Flo, we've got I'm probably missing no, it was everyone's in this
Countless,
pool.
countless.
And then we finish the workout, and then another two teams, rock up on poolside, and you're just like, wow, this is cool. The other thing is the second thing that was great was the meets and the streams. I don't think you can ever really captivate. You probably couldn't captivate on the live streams how good US Trials was last year, and you
No.
could not captivate how good ISL was. Like I always thought when we was taking the piss out of them a year before that the swimmers were there for the money. They didn't really care about winning these matches. But when you're there, we all wanted to win every match. Like we had the team room in the hotel next to London Raw, and they would be like chanting and like we're gonna beat Energy Standard. They're all like scum, and then like doing these chants like when we turn up for dinner, and like there was like some proper rivalries. And like we really cared. We're really getting into it like an age group, or like maybe a college dual meet or an age group meet, like team meet in the UK. Like everyone would come up when as soon as they were done racing, they'd come into the team area and support and cheer. We had cowbells, we had like all sorts. Like we were proper getting into it, and everyone really cared. Like everyone bought into it. That was the thing that I don't think everyone really knew outside of it. Everyone bought into it. And then lastly, and the third bit was everyone was down in these hotels near each other, and it was just after the Olympics, and everyone was on slightly different schedules. So me and like a few of the staff would be walking around for dinner maybe one night after training, and you've got like just random Olympic swimmers walking around with a beer in their hand, going and partying. Like there was one team, New York Breakers, that they were known as the party team. Like, I'm not joking. Every night you would just see them, like, and like it was really eye opening for me as a young coach because these guys were like partying pretty hard. Because as I said, it was like 6 weeks, maybe 4 weeks after the Olympic Games in Tokyo, which it was like the first time coming out of lockdown. There was really no rules in Naples, and everyone was letting their hair down. And yet they'd get to the meet, and there was world records. Like there was some fast swimming. So it was really eye-opening for me from a training basis, a happiness basis, a balance of life basis. Obviously, they've come off the best form of their life, but yeah, like I'm sure some of the swimmers would have some pretty crazy stories about the party inside of ISL to share. I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I mean, the last 4 years for me, I mean, I've really gotten more into the swimming sphere. And I think ISL was definitely a huge part of that when it came to that.
Mhm.
I mean, I watched those skin races way too much. I just watched those things over and over again, just watching Caleb
Yeah,
Dressel and Floor Manitou race it out in the 50 free and just like all these different things that have just like that just helped me like get into the sport even more. And I think that's just something that we're definitely missing today is definitely the ISL swim league.
Yeah.
yeah, I agree, Mika.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to, I mean, you're the swimsuit guy. Everyone knows they call you the swimsuit guy. I don't know. I know some people just they don't know your name. They just call you the swimsuit guy. If you had to pick, I don't know. This is probably too hard of a question, but if you had to pick one suit for the rest of your life, what suit would you pick? I mean, if you had to just wear one for every meet for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
For me, it's pretty simple. I only race 50s and like the odd 100. So for me, the Mizuno GX Sonic, I mean, any of the Mizuno GX Sonic Sprint variations over the years. So right now that's the 6NV Noble Velocity. That to me is that's the suit, right? It's crazy. It's I don't know how it's legal. It feels fast. It ticks every box, and for me that's the go-to. And I would be like, I think one of the craziest things since I done that very first review of the GX Sonic 3ST, and I could wear the 3ST for the rest of my life for what it's worth.
Yeah.
If you can get me some brand new ones, I could do that. The suit technology from Mizuno hasn't really advanced, and I'd say Mizuno are like miles ahead of all the other brands, and the other brands are just getting closer and closer. Um, Basically by trying to emulate what Mizuno do, to be completely
Yeah.
honest. But I could lock that suit in for the rest of the time. What do you boys wear? What do you race and what do you wear?
We're Mizuno through and through.
Yeah,
I mean,
we both wear the Mizunos. I mean, I wore that since my first year at the college we go to together over here at Davenport University, and
mhm.
I mean that's that's all we've been wearing, the Mizunos, and we uh we live and die by them. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
I would like I would seriously like I could argue with someone for hours about like how much better it is than any other suit because we've seen and I bought my first Mizuno. It was in 2020, right when the
Yep.
GX Sonic 5 came out. It was my first tech suit I ever
Hmm.
bought because all my buddies they had the 3 and the 4. They're swimming fast and Dressel 2019 happened and like 2018, 17, all that Mizuno stuff. And so I bought one and I've never looked back. I've never not worn it for a race. I think just like it's not just like the technical of the suit itself. I think the biggest part for me is the reusability for the suit and how well the compression stays in the suit. It's insane. And we've seen like lots of people try to emulate it. We've seen like the Shockwave or now I'd say the biggest competitor might be the Primo. You
Yep.
might
Yep.
agree with
I
me on that.
complete. Yep.
I'm considering getting a Primo for next year just to try it out because I've heard really good things about it. But pretty much Mizuno through and through. I mean, they check off all the boxes. I pretty much tell people when they ask me, the kids I was coaching just asked me about tech suits recently, and they were like, "Why? Like, why do you just swear by this one suit? We love our Venzos, you know, we love our Valors and our Intents." But I think just the biggest thing is just how it affects your hamstrings and your hips. It just like it seems that you put that suit on and your hips immediately float to the surface, almost like you're wearing a full body suit. It's just it's different than anything else. And obviously you're wearing that for all your races as well. And I have seen you've been doing some races recently, so tell us a little bit about that. I mean, you've been involved in masters swimming, been setting some national records, and I just think tell us about like the advancements currently going on because I think master swimming is really taking off recently, and I think we're going to see that become a lot bigger in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, some really good thoughts on the suits there. I don't think I think that's what's. I just want to touch about the Mizuno a little bit
Yeah,
more,
no,
but
go ahead.
I talk about the performance of the Mizuno a lot, and I sometimes get lost on how its longevity is the best by a country mile. Like if like the older ones, the threes, they ripped a little easier. Now the new ones, they don't even rip, man. Like if they don't, if they until they rip, you can race and think it's going to be fast. Like I've got my first 6MV, and like I've got sun cream over it from one of my trips, and still I can put it on and feel just epic. Like it's crazy. So yeah, that's one thing.
They're not
Honestly,
that
any guy
hard to get
list
on too, I would say. Like they slip on very easily. I think that's
the,
another
the
thing.
the first wear is hard, and then the
Hmm.
second wear is a lot
It's
easier. And
almost
then
better on
they,
the second
they
wear.
yeah they stretch a bit. They stretch once, and then they don't stretch ever again. So like
Hmm.
when you get them, they're stiff, and then they stretch once, and then do you both wear the 6MV then?
Yeah, CR, NV. He does
You have the
Yeah,
CR and
breaststroke,
the MV.
so
yeah.
CR.
I do breaststroke. He does more
You're a
sprint
CR guy.
freestyle, so we kind of
Okay,
just
I've worn the CR
cool.
for all races. I would say like an MR or a CR you could wear for any race. I've worn an MR for a
Yep,
500. I've worn it for a 4
yep,
a.m. I've worn it for a 50 free. So I think but you need it to be a little bit stretched out if you want to do a longer race, which
for
that's why
sure,
it's
for sure,
good.
for sure.
The break-in process is just different on those suits and you can trust it for a 4 day meet. You can trust that every session that suit is going to be tight versus my personal experience. I've worn like tons of Venzos because I would get them from my club,
Yep,
but it really feels like you wear a Venzo and like it's done after the first
done.
session. In my opinion, it's I could pull one out right now and it's so stretchy that I'm like it's I mean I could wear it, but it's not going to give me that much
No,
in
for
my
sure, for
opinion.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, I definitely agree. Yeah, for sure. No, if any dude is out, if you're a dude and you're listening to this podcast and you've not tried a Mizuno, but just give yourself that chance. They're not for absolutely everybody. There's a few people, maybe breaststrokers, but I mean, you said you like them anyhow. But if you've not given at least one a go at some point, you're potentially missing out on something huge. So if you're a dude, the women don't like them too much, so stick with what you like. But if you're a
Yeah.
dude, try a Mizuno at least once in your life. That's the last bit on suits I think that should be said.
Yeah.
But how old are you boys? Because you mentioned master swimming. You're a little younger than me, right? You
Yeah.
early 20s?
We're
We're
both
both 21.
21. Yeah,
Yeah.
21.
we're going into our third year competing at
Ju
college level. We
or
both
junior.
didn't compete our first year, but we're competing this year as our third year. And so
Okay.
then we both will have a fifth year option. So we're kind of in the middle of the college career, kind of on our way up.
Just
And
kind of watching that landscape change too here over in the States with all the Division One. I don't
Yes,
know how much
yes.
you hear about that, but I mean we're watching everything just kind of change around us with all the new scholarships and the House versus NCAA. I mean, we're
Yep.
just really up with that. I don't know how much that's affecting the European landscape in terms of bringing international students over, or how much you guys are hearing about that. But what are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
I've had a few ex-swimmers who are really keen to go to America, and like it comes in two fronts. Is one front that swimmers can now get paid more. Is that, but the other front is the roster limits, and basically
yeah,
it's trickling down. So like it's definitely harder for swimmers in the UK who are decent, like national finalists, national medalists in the UK, which is probably the equivalent of like a state finalist, state medalist in the US. That like you're coming down to like the lower level D1 sort of stuff at this point, aren't you? Like to get even a sniff at a scholarship, whereas maybe a few years
yeah,
ago you could probably get something a little bit better in the mid majors or whatever. That's
yeah.
my understanding.
Yeah,
It's
that's
gonna blow up a little bit in these next couple of years because of those roster cuts. I mean, I personally know some people that have been cut from Division One programs just
Yep.
because of funding and things like that.
Hmm.
They even scored at their conference and stuff like that has
Wow.
happened. But yeah, we're in like the GLIAC conference, which is one of the higher end Division Two
Okay.
conferences. So we're interested to see. I mean, obviously there's levels to it. So like what is winning our Division Two nationals is lower than a Division One level swimmer, but I
Yep.
think it's going to be a lot different because you're going to get these Division One swimmers that are like borderline national qualifiers,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
they get roster cut, so they're going to come
Yep.
to a Division Two, and it's going to be super interesting. Division Two has been on its way up the past couple of years. Like
I've noticed.
it's
Yeah.
every event kind of gets like a tenth or two faster each year to be that 21st person. And so, we got to have a chip on our shoulder if we want to make it to that meet. We got to just keep getting faster.
Yep. Did you boys
But
swim at NCAA's this year then? D2
I did.
NCAA's.
Yeah, I got the opportunity to swim the 100 breaststroke this year at NCAA,
Nice.
so
Good job.
that was a great experience. So I was very happy. I know I'm going to have to keep training hard just because of all these cuts coming in and
Yep.
how much it's going to affect the landscape of all the events in Division Two. So there's going to be no lack of training or preparing for this upcoming year. Just there's a lot of stuff that's going to have to be looked at and taken into account for. So
Yeah, I can imagine, man. How did you finish? Where did you end up coming in?
I ended up 17th. I just missed out on top 16. It was a really unfortunate. I mean, I was about 7/6 off my personal best. So
Okay.
um, I just missed out. But I got 2 years left to go, and there's no slowing down. So we're
No,
gearing
it's
up, ready to go here.
too right, man. Too right. Anyhow, I want to go back to you mentioned master swimming, but
yeah,
um, I find it interesting because in college I find people like they're swimming so well, fifth year, fourth year, whatever it is now, senior year, fifth year, they're swimming like lifetime best, and then they just finish college and they just That's it. Their swimming's
Yeah.
done. They get a career, and I think like especially I started doing masters events in we done as a relay team. We done our first one 2023, and even then I feel like that in the UK at least there's the mentality has changed a little bit. Back then it was kind of like kind of gate kept. They didn't want these younger, faster swimmers coming in. If you even brought up the concept of like a pro doing a masters meet, it would be very like whoa, whoa, whoa. This is kind of like
Yeah.
very amateur stuff. And I think there's even like a shift of like more younger swimmers coming to do it, people trying to be competitive, people looking at records and stuff like that. And it's like, and I think the thing that Masters is so good for is it ticks the box of inclusivity, anyone and everyone. You know, I remember when I
Mm.
was at the US Masters meet in Indianapolis last year, there was like a 90-year-old woman swimming a two fly. Like, how
Yeah.
crazy is that? And then, but the inclusivity can go on both ways, and you can be like an ex-pro who's trying to keep fit, and that like and you can come back into it and start having your own goals and your own targets. And you know, you guys, so base stuff for a masters swimmer, you have to be 25. That's the first age group is 25 to 29. Then it's every 5 years, 30 to 30. I've just moved up an age group to the 30 to 34. And then for relays, what they do is they add up the four swimmers' ages. So you all have to be 25, but if you, of the four of you are 30, you're in the 120 to 160 category. And every 40 years,
Okay.
there's a new category of relays. And about yeah, in 2023, beginning of the year, I'd been that's the first time I'd not really competed in a while, not really been training, kind of lost my way. And a couple of my mates had been probably retired for about 2 or 3 years. And a few of them, like in the same week, were like, should we just go and do a meet at some point? And I'm like, why don't we go do a masters meet and do some relays? So four of us agreed to do it. And then I'm like, oh, the British records are we can put together some times that can break the British records. Fast forward to the short, that was a long course meet. We got a few British records. Fast forward to October, we've got a couple more mates in, and now we're like, we can get some world records. So we got our first world record. We broke the Masters world record in the 4x1 medley.
Hey.
Fast forward another year, so October just been, and we've got even more recruits. I say recruits, they're just mates who have come back to swimming. And there's some crazy stories. We had one guy, one mess up is we put him on like our second team. He's not raced in 7 years. Lifetime best short course meet is 22.550 freestyle. But as I said, he's now 32, not raced in seven
Holy.
years. We're not expecting too much from him. So he's on our second team. He leads off the heat before us, like the A team, 22.8. Like he said he trained 16 times in 7 years. He's done 8 weeks of 2 sessions a week. We're like, Grant, you could have given us an inkling that you're like in 22 shape. He's like, I didn't really know what I'd do. I'm like you must have known something if
You
you
must
at the
have felt
point three.
good.
Yeah, you can't have been feeling bad in training. His PB was from maybe 2016, and he hadn't raced since 2018 or something ridiculous like that. Point
Wow.
three off. It was actually point two off his best, 0.26. Um, but that year, we've got a few more friends have come back to the sport, come back to racing. But another team have done the same thing, and they've beaten us in three of the four races with world records. So we got one world record, they got the other three. So now we're like, and then Cody Miller's recently come out in one of his videos saying him, Blake Proney, and a couple others are going to try and break the world records. There's the guys at Aquatic Sport Performance who have also they're setting up a meet in November where they're going to try and break the world records. So it's coming like this little bit of a international tussle. Um, and I think it's really cool. I think it's really fun, and I think it's great that there's people like throwing down some times. And I don't know. I just think for me, I can't go and work out without a end goal. I couldn't just go and swim 3,000 aerobic twice a week just to keep in shape. But I'll do whatever it takes just to do these relays.
Mhm.
And we kind of do them. We have the long course one that was last weekend, so we got two British records, one European record. That the long course one, and then we've got the October one, which will be the short course meet. We get a lot more people turn up. No one wants the long course one, funnily enough. Um,
But you
but
recently
yeah,
just did
great
a
fun.
long course one, right?
Yeah, that
I
that that was
saw.
last weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
Awesome. Well, do you have
Yeah.
any, well, I think it's kind of wrapping up here on our call. Do you have
Yeah.
any
Oh.
advice for aspiring swimming YouTubers slash influencers who are maybe trying to get their foot in the door or find their way into the YouTube influencing sphere?
Oh my God, I don't really know because I kind of just I have no strategy. I find it crazy that I run a business and run I'm an influencer or whatever you want to label me as without any sort of like I just kind of do what I like doing. So I think my first thing would be don't do it because you think there's an opportunity to make money. Do it
Yeah.
because you have a genuine passion. I have a genuine passion for swimming and making videos and stuff like that. Um, and yeah, like to have a genuine passion, be consistent or semi-consistent. I mean, being really consistent is really hard, but and I don't know if you actually want to get results, don't expect them to happen in a year. Like I don't think I think I got 10,000 subscribers in 2021. So that was 3 years after I'd started. I got to 10,000. I reckon it was a year to get 1,000 subscribers, and now at 7 years, I'm at 160 something thousand subscribers. So for some people, it can be a lot quicker, but just do it because you genuinely enjoy doing it, and it can always expand, and it will expand if you stay consistent and you actually show genuine passion. I think people can tell when you're in something for like genuine reasons versus you think you can make a quick buck or there's like you can slide in because
Yeah.
you see someone making a bit of money or that there's no integrity in that, and I think people notice.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, this is the sport where, you got to do it kind of out of your heart. You really got to love what you're doing, especially coaching. I mean, in your example of the master swimmer doing, say, 2 minute long 50 free, like you got to appreciate things like that. And that's swimming, that's
Yeah.
how it is. And yeah. But is there anything next coming for you inside, outside of the water? Anything that you're looking forward to right now?
World champs. I'm looking forward to world champs. I'm going to do a recap show on my channel every day, and I love watching swimming. I love watching fast swimming. I think this is going to be a really fast world champs. I thought US trials was fast the other day. I think Summer McIntosh was crazy. We boys can
But
clip them two together nicely, I'm
yeah,
sure.
yeah. That's what we had to
Yeah,
do with
for
with
sure.
Sam Hookstra. Do you know him by chance? I think because
I
you
know Sam. I only saw him met him in person. It was again in
Mhm.
Indianapolis last year, but he's out with the race club right now, right? He's
yeah, yeah,
working
Yep. Out in
with
SoCal.
Gary
Yeah, he's
Hall.
out there training.
Yep,
Hmm.
yeah, that's pretty cool
yeah.
indeed.
He was a big influence. He
Yeah,
coached both of us in
he
high
coached both
school.
of us.
No
Yeah,
way.
Yeah,
both of us back here in West Michigan. So
Oh, nice, man.
yeah.
So you guys swam at high school together and now at college together.
Well, we were against each other in high school. Yeah, we were at
Oh,
yeah.
different.
okay.
So we
Yeah,
swam in the same conference as each
yeah,
other, but we didn't swim together. But yeah.
How did
yeah.
So
Sam
he
end up?
coached us. So he coached me at a USA program. He
Mhm.
coached Grant at his high school. So
Yeah,
I swam with him over the summers. He coached Grant in the winters. So
yeah,
Oh, no way. And then you went head to head. I love
yeah,
that. Ah, there we go.
yeah. And then we went back when we were both in college, and when he was doing his like 100 days of 50 free. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah,
We
I
went
remember
and
that.
we
Yep.
raced him together during that.
we
So
got to race
Ah,
him, and we
it's
were
it's
on
a
that.
it's a crazy like our West Michigan like Michigan swimming world. It's very tight. Everyone kind
hmm
of knows
hmm
each other. We all race each other, train with each other, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I like that. I like that. That's cool. I think that's what swimming's great for, to be honest. Like, I have so many friends all around the world, and that's why I like the master stuff. Going back to that because it's like one of my few opportunities a year that I see my old teammates from when I was 15, 16, and I think it's so cool that we can get back, or like do a relay. There's something special about relays for me personally. I don't think I'd be very motivated even to try and swim individual PBs. I did do one last year, and I was very proud of that. Um, but the relays definitely are what keep me going. I think there's a different type of accountability and motivation, and I just think there's nothing cooler than going down with your best pals and racing together.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a lot of our motivation. I mean, Davenport's like very new program. This year is going to
Hmm.
be the sixth year of the men's team. And so
Oh
part of
wow.
our motivation is we want to be on that first relay that has ever going to
Hmm.
be qualifying for Division two. And it's a lot harder actually for Division two than than the others because there's just like one cut time. There's no
Okay.
invite top 21 or top
Yeah.
27, something like that. Our buddies at our Division 3 schools around the area, they'll like get invited for the relay at the end of the
Yeah.
season. But for us, it's like we have to hit a cut. So surprisingly, actually, like there's some relays at Division 2 that have like less than 16 teams competing just because those times are super far out there. So it's going to be interesting in the next couple of years to see maybe if it blows up again, then it's like those cuts
Yeah.
get even faster. So yeah,
What's your
it's
best chance? Which relay is your like the one you think you can qualify on this year?
Probably the medleys, either one of the
yeah,
Yeah.
medleys. I just
or
the
400
200
or
free and 400 free relays are just those are pretty quick. 800 free, I think we've probably given the 800 free probably a good run
Yeah.
for it, but
yeah,
probably the 400 medley is probably our best chance.
yeah,
So
What is the 200
yeah,
free relay? Because I mean, even the 200 and I
yeah,
could understand the times, but like 120 would be a 20 flat average, right?
yeah.
So
yeah, so
how?
they're
It's
like
a
it's like a
118
119.
or something. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, so you got
wow.
to average sub 20s on through
There's
four
Okay.
guys. So
there's only two schools
Wow.
in our conference pretty much, or two or three schools that qualify out of like the seven.
Wow.
well, there
And
was
what's
three, and
crazy, yeah.
yeah, three of the schools in our conference made it, and they went like 1-2-4 at nationals.
Yeah.
So, like in terms of the 50 freeze landscape in our conference, it's
It's
very, very
fast as well.
fast. So very
And still
Yeah.
fast.
not that few are qualifying. That's crazy. What about the 400 free? What's the like
It's
three
sub
three
three.
minutes
It's
to be
like
40
it's
four,
yeah,
3 minutes
it's
to be 45 average,
257.
so
So it's like a 44 low
still really
average.
fast.
Yeah.
And so
Jesus.
yeah, we're trying to get there for sure. We both are hoping
Yeah.
to go, like 43s and help get that relay there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that'll be ideal. And if we want to be competitive in our conference even, that's what we got to do. And so we're right next to those teams that are going 254-ish. So yeah, we're trying to work our way up to be one of those top programs, and it's been going well. We haven't really taken a step back yet. Every year
Yep.
our power score on Swim Cloud has gone up a little
Gone up.
bit. So we're hoping to just keep that ball rolling.
I'm looking
But
forward to
yeah,
seeing you hopefully get a relay to D2 though.
yeah, that's ultimately the goal.
So you're committed, are you both committed to swim to 2028? So you're going to try and swim post graduation as well then?
Well, I think about it like we're gonna go till like that March 2027. So
Yeah.
like if we do that summer, realistically, that'll be our shot. And then I mean, if I get
Hmm.
the cut, then I'll go.
Well,
And there's a lot of people like in our area, like some guys who have qualified for trials before who are gonna plan to like come back for that summer and try to make it or something in one of the
yeah.
50s or something. And so we'll probably have a good group of like Michigan guys that are going to get after it. And hopefully we'll have a bunch of qualifiers um, in in that year. We'll see.
Ah, that's awesome. That'd be great, especially in the
Yeah.
50s there, Micah. Tell me your thoughts on that. I like speaking about the 50s. I think it's a really interesting thing. And you said before we ended the last, like the call into this one, you said,
Hmm.
what am I excited about? But the evolution of the 50s is this crazy thing that the sport can see. And it's actually funny because I think the USA are actually very behind because the
Yeah.
USA is uber competitive, right? So you look at relays as the best opportunities to make teams, and you look at like hedging your bets a little bit. And the thing that these smaller countries, especially these European countries, what they can do is they can like they don't have to hedge their bets. They can just go. They know they're going to make the national team. They know they're going to go to World or Olympics. They just have to get the A cut or the B cut or not even that. So they can go uber focused on say a 50 butterfly. Like so the world record in the 50 butterfly right now by Andrei Govorov, the Ukrainian swimmer, he's the only person of a talent level as high as him that has gone completely dedicated to just the 50 butterfly 22.27 crazy
Yeah.
swim, but he trains solely for that, not for 50 free and 50 fly, not for 100 fly and 50 fly. Now you look at the rest of the scope. The second fastest of all time, Caleb Dressel, he was training for the 100 fly, and because at Worlds he can swim 50 fly, yeah, he's on a 50 fly 22.3 something.
Yeah.
The world record before Govrov, Rafael Munoz in a super suit in '09. He was a 100 fly swimmer, but again, because he had a super suit and a good front end speed, he's a good 50 fly swimmer. and the majority are. So now we're going to see more reason. And I think actually talking about the 50 fly, especially what is a really interesting in the US right now. So we talked about Dari Rose doing the swim outlet thing
Yeah.
earlier, but Dari Rose unfortunately come up third in the 100 fly. Had a great swim, 50.510, I think. So just off his best. I think his best
Yeah,
is
it might have been 50
50.6.
points still. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy
Great
to even
swim.
say. Yeah.
Great swim. And I think that's another whole topic of conversation. I'm a big believer that more swimmers, if they're going these world class times, should be able to go and swim at world champs. It's world champs, but that's not that's not what we're talking about here. But
Yeah.
then Dare wins. Actually, had already won the 50 fly, so now Dare, who's trained probably for the 100 fly and the 50 fly, is seen as it always has been a bonus event. Now he's going to the world championship solely for the 50 butterfly. So
Yeah.
does he adjust his training to be like a pure sprinter, pure power work? Because the reality is to train solely for a 50, you don't have to do much. Like volume, in fact, should not be a factor. Volume of intensity and race pace should be a factor, but overall volume is completely irrelevant. You don't have to do any aerobic sessions to be a truly great 50 swimmer. You don't have to top up your bank once a week with 2100s off 130. It's just so I'm very curious if Dare, because it's also not a massive amount of time for someone like Dare. I'm not making this just about Dare, but I think it's a very
No, I 100%. That's going to
interesting
be something
take.
we're going to see.
But
Like,
I think US are very behind compared to all these European countries. Like the times that won the 50s, especially on the men's side. On the women, there's a much more crossover. The best 50 swimmers generally are the best 100 swimmers. And then you have Gretchen, who's a super
yeah,
freak in a polite
everything.
way.
Yeah.
And she can swim 50s ridiculously fast. But I think, like, yeah, the 50 breast time, great young lad, won trials. Angus McKean, right? 26.8. But again,
Yeah.
a
Or
far cry of what
Campbell, yeah.
is
Yeah,
it? Is it
young guy came out of
Yeah, young
nowhere
guy,
this
Campbell
year.
McKeon. Yeah, he was
Campbell McKean? Did I say Angus McKean? So
yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
was
know where I
just
got
on
Angus from.
SwimCloud. He committed to
From
Texas, I think, like
yeah, he
recently.
did.
That's
He has.
big.
Is he from Bond? Is it Bond High School or something?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's something like that.
But
No,
I
yeah,
But
mean,
he came out of nowhere this year. I feel like
yeah,
I saw him going like one double O at a pro series, and then he comes and
yeah,
goes 58 at
yeah,
nationals. I mean, that's what the US definitely needed this year.
for sure.
yeah, we
But
were.
yeah,
No, yeah, go
go on.
ahead.
No, I was going to say. So the fastest breaststroker in the US is a high school guy. The fastest 50 fly swimmer is someone who would tell you he's about a 100 fly swimmer. And ultimately, 23.0 is not going to make any damage at the international scene.
Mhm.
It's what you want to be going like Thomas Chacon, the backstroke world record holder, went 22.6 the other day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The 50 backstroke was won by Quinton McCarty. He seems like a sprint guy, the NC
Yeah.
State guy. Like 24.3. Again, it's good, but I think you're going to need faster. And then 53 again.
He might
Jack
get
Summer, great
third with a
53
21-3,
on
he
three.
might.
But
Yeah.
the bottom line is like for how deep America is in the 100, 200, the medley, the distance even. I think they're really lacking in the 50s, and I think that's a massive training thing because there's no Uber sprint
Mhm.
program in the whole of the US. I don't know what my original point was, but
Yeah.
I find it
Well, I
really
feel
interesting.
like it's been interesting to watch that trials. It seemed just a little bit different energy this year. There was very fast like swimming, obviously,
Mhm.
but it felt like I think we were lacking a lot of like our star power. So it's kind of
Mhm.
like we're turning the tide towards some of the new stars. So like we saw people break out like Campbell McKeon, and just other people on that international stage. But I think just the energy was not the same at that meet. So it'll be interesting to see how World Champs goes for those
Yep.
people. But then I was just chatting with my friend about this yesterday, and we were saying like think about this. What if, someone comes in to US trials, say, and they get second place in that 50 breast or that 50 back, and they only swim that event at Worlds. It's that preparation is completely different. It's like how do you prepare for that one race? And there also that adds a lot of pressure to just have that one race as well. So it's going to be interesting. And I feel like we will see people that are like gonna be only in those events. Like there's probably gonna be like those second place people like only made it in that event. And so it's going to be interesting to see.
Well, the other thing is
Also,
at
if
least,
they're going to compete that at trials, like
yeah,
is that confirmed yet or I don't know.
I think so. I mean, at least from my like from what I've seen, I know like there's no the United States only has so many roster spots they can give. So in the case of like somebody who might get like second in the 50 breast at like the time trials in 28, I mean, they might not like make the team just
Yeah.
because of the roster limits that we have on that team. So in that case, they'll take like the top 200 breaststrokers and just have them swim the 50 breast,
Yeah.
just due to the fact that that's a much more anchored anchored event that's been there forever rather than just kind of having that. So I think that's another issue is like we don't have the roster spots for that, at least in America, just to have a guy
Yeah.
swim the 50 breasts and that's it. And you just don't know. I have no idea what that's going to look like.
I, I think there will be I think there will be an update on roster spots. I think
Yeah. You have
I
to.
think there'll be an update of +4. That's my take. But if there is not, the way that the US team, if I'm not mistaken, works is there's priorities, right? So the first thing that would go would be the fifth and sixth guy in the relays. So
Hmm.
traditionally, the top six in the 100 free go, the top six in the 200 free go, men and women. That would be the first to go as you lose the sixth and then you lose the fifth. I think Coleman Stewart missed out on, did he miss out on the 21 Olympics? He come like sixth and
It was
then
like
didn't get, or
Ryan
was it
held too or
Ryan
something,
Held? It was
and
Ryan
he got
Held.
sixth, and they didn't take him because of
They
the
had to cut him.
800, because of the
Yep,
and so, but it's interesting because the world's team, they have the 50s already, and
yep,
they haven't added a roster spot for that. So like they make it work
yeah.
with that. So it's going to be interesting. And then you also think about like 200 relays, like could we do that too? I mean, because those could be fun as well. See a bunch of
Is the
20
roster?
points,
Oh,
maybe.
I'd love that. Is the roster limit the same for World Champs as Olympics? Because I've never
I'm
seen a
pretty
real.
sure it is. Let me look that
Because
up.
there was no issue this year. There was no issue, and they made it top two in every 50 for the first time. They completely shifted. But what I was going to say is that on the priorities, if for whatever reason the roster limit is limit hit, they won't drop the 50 breaststroke for the 200 breaststroke. They will take the events where the second performer, they will basically rank the second performer maybe like on FINA points, or in comparison to the world record, and then it will. So it might be that the men's 200 backstroke second place performer is dropped, and then the men's 50 breast second place performer is dropped, and then the 100 free second place performer is dropped. It won't just be the 50s are the
Yeah.
50s in America, as far as I'm concerned, and they've already displayed this with this trials. The 50s have the same rights as every other event, so it won't be
Yeah,
in the
just
US. Yeah,
you're right. I think it'll be based off the FINA points. I just, from what I've been like hearing, I just because they're so new, my mind was like maybe they're just going to cut the 50s first and
yeah,
just try to make the roster spots work like that. So, but that
That's
makes more
how it
sense.
should be. It should be a fair playing field.
Yeah.
but
Maybe that first person to not get the A cut, like say the 400 free, like US usually that second place guy is right on the borderline.
I think there's so much mindset shift because like and I'm not making a dig at you guys here, but even you are like there's a lot of pressure going to say the world champs for just a 50. But it's like how many people have gone to the world champs just for an 800? When we don't see that, like because it's a 10-minute race, we don't say, hey, he's only going for an 800, but we would say, oh, it's a lot of pressure going for just the 50. But
Yeah.
actually it's as specific an event that needs as tailored training. And it's kind of crazy because the 800 guy just trains. I mean, yeah, he trained for the 8 and the 15, which of all events, I think the 8 and the 15 have the most similarities in how you would train. Like they really do. So if you're a distance guy, you train distance, right? But the 50 and 100 have so many differences. The 8 and the 15, technically, you want to have very little differences. You want to have a hip driven stroke where you breathe every two. You want to have really relaxed legs. Use your core to make your legs basically do nothing until the last 50 where they turn on and you bobby think, and you want to be pretty consistent on the stroke rate. Actually, like if you look at Ledecky and Fink, they're kind of like they keep it really moving with their arms for the whole 15 minutes that they swim. The 50 free and the 100 free, there is not a similarity in the stroke. One's hip driven, one's shoulder driven. One you breathe basically every stroke, one you don't breathe whatsoever. One you want to have your arms with a lot of tension. One you want to have a recovery that's very relaxed. One you want to have a deep catch. One you want to have an efficient catch with a high elbow. Like there's nothing similar. And we've already seen that 50. Like, so if you look at the Olympics last year, the 50 and 100 free, the podiums were completely different. And I think that the whole final was completely different. I think
Yeah,
either Josh Liendo or Maxime Gruson made the final in both, but pulled out the 53 final. But basically, they were completely separate finals, and that's the way that the 50s will go in all strokes. Butterfly, very flat for 50 butterfly. 100 butterfly, you breathe again every stroke or every other stroke, much more undulation. Backstroke, a lot of rotation on the 100, 50 backstroke. Like Quinton McCart, the guy,
tempo. Yeah,
all tempo, flat, shallow grip and rip catch. The guy who won the 50 back this trials didn't even swim the 100, or if he did, he wasn't in the final
yeah,
or didn't do anything of note, right? And
literally.
he's the fastest because they're completely different strokes. And even breaststroke, Mika, I don't know how you feel about this as a breaststroker. And I think 50 and 100 breaststroke do have a massive difference. But unfortunately, the way Adam Peaty swum is he's basically swum a 50 breaststroke for 100 meters,
Exactly.
which
Yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah.
of skews the rest of the world. Because he swum a 100 breaststroke like a 50 breaststroke, but that's how you should swim a 50 breaststroke.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's going to swim a hundred breasts like Adam Peaty did again. I mean, that's just such a he had such just a different way to approach it. He had a different, I mean, how he was built was just so much different than the rest of the field that he was with. I mean, and so it's just very much he just he did his thing, and I don't know if we're gonna see somebody else that does something like that. Um, and I think
Maybe
you're
this
right. I
new
think that 50 and
Chinese
100
guy.
breast, whereas we're gonna have to figure out a way to really separate those two events because they are going to be different here. And it's not just going to be about the tempo, which a lot of breaststrokers think tempo is just all that really matters when it comes to going faster in a 50 between 100 breasts. But in reality, there's a lot more to it than that. And I think we're going to just start figuring that out as it goes along here. So
I feel like the
Uh,
perfect examples are like Kevin Cordes and Michael Andrew. Like you look at them, they both went 58 in the long course, and they probably take damn near 10 strokes less than Adam Peaty on that second 50 or even on that first 50. Like it's probably way different turnover. So yeah, it's like it's gonna just create a whole nother thing to get excited for. And I feel like that's what something we needed. We were talking about how ISL was like kind of like when it went away, we're sad that it went away because it was really pushing our sport forward. It was world record after world record. If we would have kept that going, World Cups probably would have blown up more. Short course worlds would have been blown up more. And so those 50s are going to bring that for sure. And I mean, those are going to be those races where it's like, all right, who do you got? Like we don't know what's going to happen here at all. Those are just the real pick'ems versus other races are a little bit more predictable. So, yeah.
I think there's so much more longevity in the training for 50s as well. Like, to be honest, of things that have been impressive to me this year, Katie Ledecky setting a world record in the 800 freestyle again. Like, I can't fathom, like, one, how hard she must train. And I've heard from all accounts she's a beast. She's a trooper in training. You have to be for the distance events. So there's no hiding. There's no missing training. There's no apparently she's always the first on deck. But to keep yourself that motivated for 9 years, or ultimately for 13 years since she won her first Olympic title, 13 years after her first Olympic title to set another world record to go the fastest she's ever been. Like, I don't know how you can keep that level of motivation and discipline. And so that to me was crazy impressive. But for the most part, the way you can train for a 50, it ties into like just good practice, longevity in life. And said Cam McAvoy gets in the pool 4 times a week, and he's the Olympic champion for 50 freestyle.
Yeah.
And but what it does mean, like take the 50 breaststroke, Mika, like um the start, and it was always Peter's weakness, the underwater. I mean, Michael Andrew, did he break out like 18 meters the other day at US trials? Like
yeah,
it was like
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
18,
something
19.
just
crazy.
crazy far. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we can really just isolate that element. So I'd say like you could be doing like 2 pool sessions a week plus 2 gym sessions a week just on that first 20 meters. And all of a sudden there could be a 50 in 100 breast, maybe they're still surfacing at 15, but maybe in the Olympic final in 3 years, everyone in the 50 breast surfaces at 22 meters. And, you know, so
Yeah.
there's like so many things that we can actually start to fine tune the stroke rate we're talking about. That I've got this document. It's really cool. Actually, I can send it to you guys. But basically, they've analyzed every Olympic final of Paris, And in the breaststroke has the biggest variance in stroke rate of every race. Backstroke, 200 backstroke for men, I think the stroke rate variance is like 42 to 45. So it's basically everyone's doing the same thing. In the breaststroke, 200 breaststroke, the stroke rate variance is like 28 to 52. For tempo, that's like 1.1 to 1.5, I guess. Like
Yeah.
it's radical. Maybe even more than that. I
Yeah.
don't really know tempo. I just know stroke rate. But the bottom line is like breaststroke has the biggest scope to be tuned, and I think with the 50 especially, and this is the exciting thing. But you have to completely like change how you train because
Hmm.
and I think that's so exciting. But the world has to like get on board with this, and if they don't, there'll be some guy you've never heard of win the trials in LA for LA, and he's not from a college program. He's not from one of the major players. He's just some guy who's been training on his own, just dialed into hell with just being.
Lifting tons.
Yep,
I think that's
yep,
going to be
Yeah,
the key.
exactly.
My buddy Derek Moss, I don't know if you know who he is.
yeah,
He
yeah,
swam at
Derek, yep,
Alabama. Yeah, you met his mom obviously when we were at
yeah,
trials.
yeah, yep.
But
I've got a
he
picture of his mum.
says, yeah, he said he's gonna come back, just for that 50 breast, and he's just been lifting. He hasn't swam
Yep,
since Division 3 Nationals 2 years ago, almost. And he's just gonna lift him, Liam Bell as well. When we did a
yep,
podcast with
yep,
him, he said him and Liam Bell, their plan is just keep lifting, stay strong, and then come back and try to swim that 50 breast, and just see what happens. And I think those are the guys that are going to be those real threats they're kind of wild cards. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I want to go one better. I don't want to say they're wild cards. I think these are the guys who should be the favorites because we're not. Leon Marchand last year being again an anomaly. We're not in a realm where there's Michael Phelps's and Ryan Lochte's who can win. I mean, Phelps at his best could have probably won the 100, 200 backstroke at a World Champs or an
Just dominate.
Olympics.
Yeah.
Like, plus the flies, plus the medleys, plus the freestyles. Like, there's
yeah,
no way because and women's swimming is a little bit behind and it will eventually catch up. But on men's swimming now, you can't spread yourself thin. There's only like as we go forward, there's no way you can be world class at the 100 and the 200 or the 50 and the 100. And like the 53 is already starting to see that. The 53 is the first event where you've got these hyper specialists, right? So the 100 now has a couple of 200 guys, Pan, Popovich. But soon, roster limits will have to allow for this because soon to make an Olympic team in any more than two individual events will be like a complete like
yeah,
whoa, so and so made two individual events at the Olympics. Like wow, that's and because if you start to, like if you try and swim these multiple events, you'll just be beaten by a guy who's just dialed in on one event. And it's the same as what we've seen on the 50s in the past. Like a Govrov could beat Prime Dressel just because he didn't swim a 100 fly. Like,
mhm,
whereas Dressel had to be great at the 100 fly, where he was at the world record, and the 100 free. And I mean, Brooke and Dressel could swim a 2 free and a 2 fly and a
yeah,
2 IM if you wanted to. But like, that's what we'll see. So I don't think Liam Bell and Derek Mass will be the wild cards. I think these are the guys you should put your money on because they're the ones who are actually going to be dialed in solely for the 50 without any concern of trying to go 58 in the 100. Because if you're trying to go 58 in the 100, you have to be working that back end, which is taking away the focus of working on the start. So while they're
yeah,
working on the back end, Derek and Liam are just going, wow, we're getting to 15 and 6-0. Now we're getting to 15 and 5-5. If you get to 15 and 5-5, like even Adam P can't swim past you because you've got a body length up on him already. So
yeah,
I think that's like if programs don't enable these swimmers, I think these swimmers will go and figure a way to do it themselves. And I think that's like it's kind of what Cam's done. And so we've seen it succeed. It's kind of
yeah,
what Ben Proud's done for a long time.
yeah.
So
Yeah, Ben Proud,
An
I feel
exciting
like
time.
maybe one of the first people to just really specialize on that 50. I mean, he's
yeah,
he's been in every single final for the last I want to say 8 years. So, I mean, yeah. And I think the short course yards swimmers, they might benefit from these 50s the most because
100%.
like guys like Micah, like we're just working on our start like
Hmm.
all the time. Like Micah can beat me to 15 meters all day because he works on that start
Yep.
nonstop. And like that's going to be the difference in those long course races. Getting clean water is just massive in any long course race.
100%. Every one of these 100-yard stroke specialists who always found long course too, just that couple of strokes too far. This is your time. If you're listening to this, you're a guy, girl who was great at the 100 yards, or even of a stroke, or even just a 50-yard stroke on like an NCAA relay, and you just ripped. We had a girl. She now coaches at Tennessee, Maddie Bannock. I don't know if you remember her. Oh my God, she was electric 50 butterfly. Was the American record holder at one point. Probably would say that 100 fly long course was again a little bit too long, but this is your moment to come and take your place on the US team, or whatever team you swim for, because
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's great. You're right. The 100 yard stroke specialist, the 50-yard stroke specialist, 50 long course is spot on.
Hmm. For sure.
We're definitely excited for it, and it's going to be a big change here pretty soon. So just ready to rock it out. But it's gonna be fun. A lot of stuff to look forward to in the world of swimming. So
I
Yeah.
think so.
This is a kind of random question. What do you think is the biggest scam in the swimming gear world?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't think we have, like, I think we're really behind like sports like cycling and running and triathlon, where they have so many gadgets and gizmos. I've like reviewed and had hands on with quite a few of the swimming gadgets, the wearables, the kind of form goggles and the
Yeah.
flexes. And I don't want to call them a scam. That's not what I'm calling them. But I personally just wish they were a slightly bit more reliable or accurate. They can be accurate, but they're not reliable. And I'm just a bit weird like that. I would hate to wear a watch or have something in my cap just to find out that I don't know, four max 50s and it was like 27, 39. And like sometimes
Yeah.
because you're looking at the clock, sometimes I'm like, wow, it's got the right results. And sometimes I'm like, well, that's not even. So I don't want to call them a scam, but I would like them to be better. Um, Tech suits are what they are. The training gear is pretty good. Like, we know what fins we like. I don't know. Do you guys
Yeah.
think there's any sort of snake oily sort of stuff? Like,
I would say the arena fins are the best, in my opinion, right now. There is those new Speedo uh brand
well,
ones that
they're
just
just
came out.
they're
But
just they're just rebranded DMC fins. They're good. I
yeah,
like, but like, do you think there's any scammy or like gimmicky or these sort of things?
I mean, not a whole lot. I mean, I feel like a lot of the stuff we use is like it's been really like there's just a lot of
Yeah,
simple stuff. So to be honest, I mean, we just wanted to hear your opinion on it because we couldn't really think of anything. But you're right. It's going to take time for these things in our sport to really get um, more well produced and more accurate when it comes to tracking our times when you're swimming by yourself and you don't have somebody to time you every time you're going from wall to wall. And I think that's you're probably right about that. It's probably one.
I think if there is any scams out there, I'd like to think I've just overlooked them because they're so obvious. But I don't think we have any. There's nothing in my mind that comes to like that's really successful. I'm like, how is that successful? That's clearly a scam. I mean, kind of. I think a lot of the way a lot of people train is borderline a scam. To be
mhm,
completely honest, I feel really strongly about this. I think age group swimmers should not be swimming like Olympians. I think technique is completely overlooked by the majority of bad programs in the world. I think our obsession with volume is completely misleading. So I guess all that sort of stuff I think is a scam, but
yeah.
it's kind of loaded.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
we only do singles at Davenport. We do singles in the morning and we lift twice a week in the afternoon. And like as we've gotten older, we've kind of like and we both come from like my high school team was like a two times a day over 10,000 yards daily. And so it's like to come from that and then to come to this, it's eye-opening. And I feel like as
Yeah.
you get older, you need to tweak it and just listen to your body more. People don't listen to their body enough nowadays. Like I personally burned out in my final high school season because I was just trying to train through it and just get to that final high school state meet. And by the time I got there, I didn't focus on my recovery enough. So then I just wiped out.
I think singles are one of the most amazing things in the world. And I think, again, so many people think it's like the easy way out, but actually it allows your body to be good. Like, remember, the majority of aerobic base is actually for allowing you to do training sessions. Like you build an aerobic base so that you can do a set of 20, 50s, 200 pace or whatever. It's not really for the race. Every session should have a clear purpose. And if it doesn't have a clear purpose, if it's for recovery, well, work out how you recover best. For me, it's definitely by not getting up at 5 a.m. So therefore, my optimal training would be 6 sessions a week where I have a good lay in, I wake up, and even like things like lifting and swimming back to back, I think that's something that people should try and separate. But yeah, I think training can definitely be a bit of a scam. And
Yeah.
but mate, yeah, I don't know what else to be honest. But
Yeah.
train
I
train
mean,
smarter people.
it's a cut and dry sport, so not many people are out to get anybody, luckily, out here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I got one more like quick random question for you. Like, so given your knowledge in all tech suits, you had mentioned earlier, like, I don't know how this suit is legal. Are we gonna see another like season where like 2010 when they just banned all those like super like just all the full body suits, or are we at a spot where the technology is just going to be just continue to get better and we're just going to continue to get faster along with it, or are they going to have to cut back on these suits at some point?
I don't think we're going to get another suit ban. I don't think that. I just don't like. I think we're already at the limits, as I said. And I think the Mizuno was kind of a freak thing. And as I said, the other brands are coming towards the Mizuno, the Primo, the Shockwave, even like the Speedo Intent, which I hate, has a lot of similarities to taping, the dual materials and stuff like that. So I don't think we're ever going to have to see them ban. I think the Mizuno was a kind of fluke thing that happened in 2016. A lot of other brands have copied, but even really, we've not seen a massive singular jump in the Mizuno in the last 9 years. They've got a bit better like longevity. They don't rip as easy. The taping's a little bit more refined, but I don't see a massive jump. And honestly, I think the reason we're getting faster as a sport is what we talked about a lot today, but the specific focus on certain events that will increase gains. Even like compared to '09, the world champs in '09 didn't have wedges on the blocks. The very first 20 point for 50 freestyle, Fred Busquet at French Nationals, didn't have a wedge on the block. Cesar Cielo was the only person that year when he went, is the world record still to this day, 20.91, that had a wedge. So even that, like basically 2012 onwards, every major meet has had a wedge, makes a huge difference. The way we train is definitely getting smarter, makes a huge difference. Women's sport is like getting much more people staying in the sport, which creates more depth, which creates better swimming. So I think the tech suit is way. I mean, I should mention that tech suits don't make the swimmer. Great swimmers. Dressel was great in a Mizuno, and guess what? He was great in a Speedo, and if he
mhm.
wants to be, he'll be great in this DeBoer suit.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is the tech suit is maybe like tenth on the difference of swimming getting faster each year, whereas in '09 the tech suit was the number one reason why '09 was such a fast year for swimming. Whereas in every year since, it's like down in the bottom 7, 8, 9, 10. Whereas
Yeah.
all the other things are the real reasons. So I think that's why we won't see another ban.
I think we
Yeah.
got like 40 seconds left here again. So
Yeah.
we've been talking for a minute. But I think is it cool if we wrap up with you? If that's cool. I think we've covered all topics I feel like we kind of wanted to discuss with you and pick your brain about just because you are such a knowledgeable coach and we loved having you on today.
No, I enjoyed swimming, lads. I enjoyed swimming. I enjoyed talking swimming, lads. Thanks for your time. Thanks for having me on. If anyone wants to find me, I'm the Swimsuit Guy on YouTube and Instagram. And if you are out there interested in what I had to say about training, I do write online training programs.